What's up YouTube, Byrdman here with another Outriders video. Today I'm going to be talking about an awesome interaction with Fortress and how it essentially turns Devastator into this one-shotting character. Now before I get into the video, let you know you can find me over on Twitch right now, twitch.tv/Byrdman778. Start every single day starting at noon Eastern Standard Time, so stop on by, show some love. Make sure you're showing love over here on YouTube by giving a thumbs up, subscribing, and possibly becoming a member. And finally, find me on Twitter, twitter.com/Byrdman778 for some bad takes and fun tweets. Now, let's get right on into the video. Now, before we get into the video, I'll let you know this interaction isn't actually something that I found myself. I actually found this on a Reddit post from another content creator within the Outriders community named X1A1. Make sure you're showing them some love as well because they essentially explained out this interaction. We had almost done something similar to this weeks ago, but we just got kind of sidetracked on other things that we were doing with different builds and stuff like that, especially with Death Proof and how it was interacting. But essentially this explanation kind of shows exactly why a lot of things that we've been doing on our stream have just like ramped up and stuff like that. So this is essentially an all-around just culminated idea of Fortress boosting armor to the point that you are able to one-shot behemoths, one-shot broodmothers, and stuff like that. Now, there have been reports that this is a bug, but unfortunately, just like I don't know if it really is a bug or not, just because of how it interacts. Everything within the Middletree that we're using makes sense. Fortress, how it works makes sense. And the armor stealing that we're going to be doing makes sense as well. So this might be just like the absolute best build for Devastator ever if you want to do firepower. But let's talk about our weapons and stuff first before we go into it. First off, I have a Death Shield on, essentially with Fortress and Dark Sacrifice, but it's kind of like an off weapon for us just because we know that once we get all these interactions ramping up, this will do a lot of damage. But the Fatal Symbiote is the main weapon of this build. Obviously, we're using Dark Sacrifice, which gives us that 75% weapon damage for draining 50% of our health, which is actually really good for the fact that it helps benefit another mod that we're going to have on our armor. But Fortress, shots increase your current armor and resistances by 5%, stacking up to 3 times. At maximum stacks, the buff is doubled. Additionally, grants 30% damage increase for 10 seconds. Now, the thing about Fortress is the fact that essentially, I guess, according to X1A1, has a save as feature to it, where it will essentially just like save your armor values after it activates and deactivates, so that whenever you reactivate it, you're essentially just getting this huge boost of your armor, which is really awesome for the fact that we, within this video too, have reached over 3.3 million firepower at some points, 14 million armor value, which essentially, I mean, when you just put in like the math, you're getting obscene amount of damage to the point, again, you are one-shotting behemoths, broodmothers, bosses, and all that stuff with just the Fatal Symbiote, which is amazing. But I think the Fatal is like the absolute best for this just because it has a great mag, high rate of fire, and just good overall damage. Now, let's talk about which armor pieces we're using for this. First off, we're using the Death Proof Mask. I'm using Primal Weakness on this to help reduce resistances on enemies. And then the Cycle, increase weapon damage by 30%. This bonus is proportional to your health regeneration. Now, because of what we have within our skill tree, this will boost up. You can obviously boost this up with other things, different mods and stuff like that, especially like Tremor that gives you health regen. This will naturally boost up, but at least we're getting just the base 30% from the health regen that we have within our tree. Now, we're obviously using Death Proof set just because it gives us that 90% cooldown to Boulder Dash, which we're going to be constantly using for this build, but also because 15% of our armor becomes our firepower, which again essentially turns into this huge boost of damage that we're going to have within the entire build. Next up on our Death Proof chest piece, we get armor boost on that. This is one of those like pivotal skills for the build, I would say, just purely off the fact that you get you 52k armor just based on hitting an enemy that's afflicted by Earthquake, which is amazing. It stacks up to 10 times as well, so 10 enemies. You're getting a shit ton of armor just off of that alone, which is amazing. But again, with Fortress and its like kind of save as feature, you're just continuously stacking up a whole lot of armor to then reuse for that one-shotting purpose. But Primal Armor, the second ability on this, is kind of the probably the most pivotal of all of them, purely based on the fact that doubling your armor when the skill ends for Boulder Dash is stupid. Just getting double armor just for activating it is really nice. Now, this isn't going to double like multiple times. Like, you can't just like activate it, and it does that. It's more of just an activation. It'll double while it's activated, and afterwards. But this is, again, one of those skills that, with that kind of save as feature that Fortress, I guess, has, it essentially just makes it absolutely busted. Again, when it comes to like the end of this video, I'll post down below the Reddit post itself the video that originally got this build, as well as the X1A1's Twitch and Twitter account as well. So, but going on to the Deathproof leg piece, we're using Primal Chain Gun, obviously, just to get that big boost to weapon damage to enemies we hit with Boulder Dash, and then Mitigation of Death, because it is another kind of just like layer of stacking with this entire setup. This again, is a save as feature. Killing enemies while aiming down sights grants 45k points of armor for 10 seconds. Essentially, it's based off of that cooldown, most of these different things in regards to Fortress. So you're essentially just trying to want to stack as many of these things within that period of time Fortress has at 10 seconds as humanly possible, just so it kind of has, again, that kind of save as, and then whenever you reactivate it, you're kind of getting that again for yourself. So it's really nice. So Mitigation is obviously really great for that as well. Next up, we're using Gauntlets of the Cannonball with Captain Hunter and Death's Door. Death's Door is that one that works really well with the Dark Sacrifice, purely based off the fact that it's going to drop our health, which then in regards will double your armor once we hit that below that 35%. So again, just another layer of getting extra armor is really nice. But obviously, Captain Hunter getting that increased damage to elites is really pivotal for this build as well. And then finally, we're using the Seismic Commander foot pieces. I mainly use this just because I'm getting a second Quake on top of the Panzer Drain. Now, you can probably mid-max this a little bit better by finding like purple boots that have either the extra Quake on it already, but at least for me, I get that extra Quake right here and now. But you can also put on Panzer Drain. Damaging enemies within the skill steals 33% of their armor. Again, stealing armor is really great because they're just, again, adding another layer of armor addition to our self, and also the fact that it lasts for 5 seconds. Again, we're just kind of getting more things as a stack within that period of time of Fortress to help us do the most damage. For our abilities, we're obviously using Boulder Dash and Earthquake, but I like to use Endless Maths. Now, X1A1 in his, he was using Golem just for some extra resistances, but honestly, I feel as though that within this entire build, we have plenty of resistances. We're already having an obscene amount of armor within an entire period of time, so and you should be constantly killing everybody to the point within close range that you're essentially just constantly healing off of that alone. So I like using Endless Mass to essentially group up enemies to make it easier to activate that armor boost, the Panzer Drain, to Boulder Dash enemies to go into Primal Chain Gun. It's really nice. Again, this is still one of those builds where you should be up in the thick of it as much as humanly possible. So this Endless Mass helps out a lot. Now, when it comes to our skill tree, obviously within the skill tree itself, we're going to go into all these Colossuses across the way. We are going to go into these anomaly within the veins. That gives us that 3% health regeneration because it helps out Vim and Vigor right here. Increase weapon damage by 10% for each anomaly in the veins class node. So essentially, we're going to be getting 30% off of this in regards to weapon damage. And then we obviously, again, already have the cycle. So it's another just like layer of 30% weapon damage. I think this is kind of pivotal for the build. Just because while you're trying to get in that ramp up process of like getting your armor activated, getting Mitigation of Death activated, all these different things to help boost Fortress, having that extra weapon damage is just really pivotal, helps you out a lot. But we're obviously going to be also going to all these tanks across the tree for that extra 20% armor, because it's going to help benefit our final thing, Mighty Tank there, but we'll get into that in a second. On the side here, we also want to go to In the Fray. You mainly doing this just to go into Vim and Vigor, but it is a phenomenal skill just purely off the fact that we'll be constantly activating both Boulder Dash and the Endless Mass, so having that damage mitigation on top of our armor, our high armor already, is really nice because it makes you into a really solid firepower tank. We're going to be splitting off here and going into Heirloom Armor as well as Stone Circle. Heirloom Armor, when an enemy dies within close range, 20% of their armor is transferred to you for 10 seconds. Another one of those kind of like layers of stacking. Stone Circle, extended distance considered close range by 4 meters. But we want to feed into Through the Mob just because that's just free armor right there for having enemies within close range. 77% armor activated. So it's really nice because we'll give that 7% for them just existing there. And then once they die, it'll transfer over to Heirloom Armor. So we're getting that boost again, just constant, just high armor on us to help boost into Fortress. We have this one, Resist the Mob, increase resistances by 7.5% for each enemy in close range. Really nice, again, just kind of help tanking us out as much as humanly possible. We also have this Overlord the Battleground, again, additional 10% health for each enemy that died in close range. Again, tanking us out for all these enemies that we're going to be killing within close range. But finally, Mighty Tank, which I still think isn't at the spot that it really should be, but if this build tells you anything, it's the fact that once Mighty Tank is uncapped, Devastator will be absolutely the most, I would say, filled out character of all the different classes. The Vanquisher tree, the Warden tree, and the Seismic Shifter, all of them having this great synergy once they uncap it. But first off, just Mighty Tank, increase firepower by 5% of your armor. Bonus is capped at 40% of your total firepower. And same thing with your anomaly power as well. Again, getting a boost off of Mighty Tank for our high armor in regards to also Death Proof set getting a 15% firepower bonus based on our armor as well. We're going to be having an obscene, you're going to be having 1 million plus on average firepower once you're going through ramping this up. I would say even at the lower levels of like what you would say the ramp up process is. So again, the process of how you essentially want to go about this is one, I usually endless mass enemies together, get them all kind of grouped up together. You want to then activate Earthquake if you can, just so you can kind of get that Panzer Drain, get that armor boost activated off of that. Then you want to Boulder Dash into the enemies just so that armor is doubled, and then you want to activate your Fortress. So start shooting at enemies, start getting that ramped up again, and then just kind of rinsing, repeating your skills right after that. So I would say almost immediately try to kill some smaller enemies just so your mitigation of death is activated higher. Activate Boulder Dash as much as humanly possible, and then activate Earthquake as much as humanly possible on enemies to steal their armor. The longer that you have high armor, the better. So once you get all that stuff together, just make sure you're constantly activating Fortress just so you're able to have that high damage boost. But again, Mighty Tank and Death Proof set are absolutely busted for this setup. Thank you so much again for watching this video, kind of checking out this new setup. We're going to be using this probably a lot on my Twitch stream here soon, just because it's absolutely busted. Again, big shout out to X1A1 for finding this. I know, I think it was mentioned that him and some other members of the community found this, so if you know who it is, comment down below. I love spreading the love of the community. Everyone's awesome here. I love the fact that the community of like not only just Devastators, but Outriders in general have just kind of like stuck with the game and have really found these really cool interactions. So let's keep it up, y'all. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great night, day, or whatever it may be.